Howdy, Mike McCoy here. I've been 2 or 3 wanting me to talk about dry kilns and the operation and stuff like that. And I imagine the value it adds to the lumber and stuff. So this video is going to be about dry kiln. And I am not really qualified to have an opinion on it. A real good opinion on dry kiln, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But we did have a dry kiln and we run it for probably 3 or 4 years. And for a small operation like us, a dry kiln was a huge asset. If I hadn't been sick when it burnt, I would have replaced it. And a lot of people, a lot of the smaller cabinet shops and people that do custom work and stuff, that was my customer base, and I had real good luck with it. But here is some of the do's and don'ts with dry kilning. My biggest problem was I had no way, or no good way, of storing the lumber after it was dried. I needed a building big enough to pull inside, and preferably you need one that's climate controlled. I don't think you have to have it, but you'd be better off, you know. But if you're on a limited budget and you've just got enough for a dry kiln, it can bite you. For it bit me, for our budget was fairly limited. And we could have built another building, and I did build another building. It's my son's RV shed now. But we just never could get our ducks in a row good enough to do that. Mother never did really care for that dry kiln. That's, you know, we've all got preferences, and that was one of hers. For really and truly, the lumber that comes out of it looks just exactly like the lumber that went in it, unless you mess it up, you know. But it does make a huge difference. And if you get a dry kiln, I think ours was a Nile, and it was a small dry kiln. It was one of the smallest ones you could buy. I think it'd kill about 1,000 feet. And you really need one that kill at least 2,000. And what'd really be nice is have 2 small units. The guy that I bought this off of had 2 small units, and he had sold one of them, and I bought this one. For that way, you know, it'd give you way more choices and stuff. And mine done good. It done real good. I bought that thing. I let the unit sit out there in the garage for probably a year. For I was afraid to put it up. I was afraid it wouldn't work. And I put that thing up, read a few instructions on it, put 1,000 feet of lumber in there, cut the switch on. It sat right there and killed it just as good as any kiln in the country. And a lot of people is showing a lot of interest in solar kilns. And I don't know that much about a solar kiln. I do know that Virginia Tech has got some drawings on one, and the wood web on the computer. And if you're in this business, you should at least look at the wood web, for they've got forms on dry kilning and cabinet making and sawmilling and all that stuff. And there's some really good information there. And a lot of people really thinks a lot of solar dry kilns. For one thing, a dry kiln is an energy hog. I mean, that to mine was like an electric deal. It was a dehumidification kiln is what it was. And it costed about $150 just to kill 1,000 feet of lumber. And the light bill. So that's something else for you to think about. And solar kiln is, a friend of mine built one, and I think he went to Home Depot and got it, but he got some kind of solar powered vents and attic fans for a house, and hooked them on it, and it basically kills the lumber for nothing. It just sits there. Now it takes it longer, but you know, if time ain't of the essence, you can do all right with something like that. I think I've never been around one, so I don't know. For there's a whole lot to drying lumber. I mean, a whole lot. You've got different schedules for different species. The whole time we had ours, I never did learn how to dry kill oak that was over 4/4 thick. Every time I ever tried, I'd honeycomb it. It'd have little checks all through it. And a friend of mine told me that owns a dry kiln that is really good at that. He said that anything over 1 inch oak, said you just pretty much have to air dry it for 6 months before you even put it in the kiln to get it to do right. Oak is really finicky. Oak can cost you a bunch of money. There's another guy I know back in the 80s. He had a dry kiln and he messed up 30,000 feet and it pretty much bankrupted him. So, you know, that's something else to kind of remember. But there's nothing wrong with having a dry kiln, especially a small operation. For it, it'll really help your customer base. I wished I had mine back. I really do. We made a lot of money off that mill, and we charged. I figured it was worth about $250 a thousand to kill it. That gives you $150 for the power bill, and then $100 put it on sticks and take it out. But now it adds a lot to the value of the wood. And a lot of times it'll make something that's unsellable for people who just can't use it to something that they want, you know. Like the flooring here in this kitchen, it come out of my dry kiln. And to this day, it's done as good as any you can buy. For another thing about drying lumber is conditioning it after it's dry. Because if you dry lumber, say down to 6%, and just open the doors of that kiln and pull it out right then, it'll be under so much tension. If you try to rip it or anything, it'll just warp something terrible. Or if you just plane one side of it, it'll cup. You've got to let the tension off of it. And that little kiln I had was really good about conditioning the lumber. For what I'd do, I'd just cut the unit off and leave the fans running for 2 days. And let it just slowly cool down and that air circulating through it. And I never did have a problem with lumber not being conditioned properly. But there is a whole lot to drying wood. I mean a whole lot. And you've got to know your different species. And you need a really good moisture meter. Get one that you can trust. I think I get like $500 for that in mine years ago. And it had different settings for different species of wood. And as best I could tell, it was dead on it. It done real good. And it burned up when the kiln burned up, for I had it in a little storage box there where my controller was. But and like these bigger mills, like a production mill, like Logger Wade's, some of them's going to dry kilns, but now that is a huge investment right there. For, you know, for mills putting out 40,000 feet a day, you're going to have some big kilns, and even mean you can't keep up with all of it. But I think, I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure the magic number's around 40,000 feet per kiln is what like furniture factories and stuff use in this area. And they use one or two of the bigger mills. It's got their own dry kilns. Parton's down there in Rutherford County, they cut mostly pine, and they've got, God, I don't know how many dry kilns. They've got a bunch. And some boys over here in Yancey County, they bought an old factory out just for the kilns. It was old Drexel, I think. And they do a lot of their own kiln, right? And that adds a bunch of value to the wood. But now, like if you're a big production mill and you put in some big kilns, you better have somebody who knows what they're doing to run them things. for the kiln man can bankrupt you in a heartbeat. You cram 40,000 feet of like face and better red oak or white oak in there, and he honeycombs every bit of that stuff. Take you a long time to correct that mistake. But dry kilns is a good thing. I mean, if you've got the room to build a building, it'll hold the lumber and hold it in a way that you can get to it. You know, like you can maneuver a forklift around in there and stuff. And you don't mind, you know, customers coming by. And that's another thing that's kind of aggravating if you're a small mill. Say you're down there and you got 2 or 3 helping you and you're sawing, and a customer comes by and wants something, and you have to shut the mill down to get out what they want. Well, they're paying high dollar for this stuff, and they're going to want what they want. And usually they'll stay there for an hour picking through it and everything to get what they need. And, you know, they might buy $200 worth. Well, you've done lost that in labor, you know. So you have to take that into account. But if you can get up big enough to where you can have somebody that's their job, that can go in there and help them, and you don't have to shut your operation down, that you can make that work, you know. If I could ever got ahead enough to a harder sawyer and I could have been out of doing all this other stuff, it would have helped me tremendously. But when we first put the mill in, I hired this boy to saw. And Mary Ruth, mother, she come out there just in a huff. She said, if you don't do something with him, said, he's going to kill us all. Said, he's hitting them dogs with the saw. And he was. I mean, I don't know what was wrong with him. But he hit the dogs 2 or 3 times, ruined his teeth in that saw. And he'd never changed expression. So I had to get rid of him, and I was afraid to try anybody else. I never did, you know. But you need somebody at the mill that can turn loose and go do stuff like that. For, like in my case, I was a sawyer, and if I stopped, everybody stopped. And that makes it a little bit different. And then later on, when there's just 3 of us, it didn't really matter. I had to stop anyway to help them load it and stuff. And I've sat out here and babysitted people for an hour, and they buy $20 worth. You know, that gets aggravating. But it's just one of them things. If you can set yourself up to where you can store the lumber and you've got a good way of drying it and everything, dry kill's a good thing. Dry kill will make you some money. And like a higher production mill, you can dry you really high grade, like, you know, common and better and stuff like that, and it adds a whole lot of money to you. But now it's a waiting game. You know, you got 40,000 feet, 8-quarter oak sitting out there on sticks, and you needing the money and having to wait on it for 6 months. That might take the fun out of it, you know. It would me. But that's about what I know about dry kilns, which ain't a lot, but maybe that helped you a little bit. There's a lot to be learned on a dry kiln. There's a lot to know to dry kiln lumber properly. And don't never just assume something or other. I had some of the finest cherry down there that you ever seen in your life. I mean, it was gorgeous stuff. And I put it in there, and I thought, now I'll be real gentle with it. And I put it in straight off the saw into the dry kiln and started out on the slowest schedule I had and dried it. Well, that stuff almost walked out the door. It cupped and bowed and warped. I bet you I lost 50% of it. Well, that same guy that I know that runs a dry kiln, I told him, I said, how in the world can I keep from doing that to that cherry? And I told him what I'd done, and he said, you done just exactly backwards of what you should have done. Said, put it in there, set it on the highest schedule you got, and let it cook. And don't give it time to warp. And the next time I got some good cherry, I done that, and well, there's steam boiling out of that kiln and everything else, and I thought, oh God. And shoot, we didn't lose 10%. Didn't lose 5% of it. It is some pretty cherry you ever seen in your life. It dried just as bright. And you know, it's just knowing what you're doing. If I was a production mill and was going to put in a quantity of dry kilns, you know, where I could dry, say, like 100,000 feet, I would really go out of my way to hire somebody that knows what that's doing. For if you just put somebody in there that's just read a book, they might bankrupt you. They very well could, you know. For dry killing, it's got its own skill set to it, and just anybody can't do that. But that's what I know, and don't take that to the bank, for a lot of this is just what I've read and what I've been told and stuff. But I have had experience in drying, and you can make some money at drying, but you got to be careful. Stay away from oak, or I always did. Talk at you later.